Welcome to this week's episode of the Matt Stewart Sports High School Football Podcast. Look forward to a big week of high school football, starting with our GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia matchup this Friday night as the number 4 McEachern Indians take on the number 10 Hillgrove Hawks. Both teams are 7-0. This is a big rivalry game in Cobb County, 16th all-time meeting between these two teams. Hawks actually lead the series 8-7, and it's a big game in the Region 3 6A standings. Bigger for McEachern. If they win this game, they are definitely in the driver's seat. And Hillgrove, if they win the game, they still got Harrison out in front of them. So this does not decide the Region 3 6A championship on Friday night, but certainly will be a huge game. And it's also the first time we've ever been to Hillgrove High School on GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia. So looking forward to that. Coming up in this week's episode, we're going to talk to Marietta head coach Cameron Duke. First-year head coach has had a dramatic turnaround in the Blue Devils program this season alone, from a bad start to a great 4-game winning streak. We'll talk to him about all that. We're also going to look at the biggest wins of the week. He had one of them. We're also going to take a look at the rankings, give you a look at what has transpired in the Matt Stewart Sports High School Football Podcast rankings this week. We'll also name our players of the week. We'll preview the biggest games coming up this Friday night, and we'll also take a look at the latest recruiting news. So like, follow, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on iHeart, listening on Apple Podcasts. Also follow me on social media. You can find me on X at Matt Stewart TV, and you can find me on Facebook at Matt Stewart Sports. You can also find me on IG at Matt Stewart TV Sports. So there, got it covered. Let's get the podcast started with my players of the week. And we're going to start at quarterback, where Tyreek Wade of Valdosta had a huge game in the Wildcats' 41-0 victory over Richmond Hill. This was a big game in the Region 1 6A standings, and Richmond Hill had been playing very well until they ran into Valdosta on Friday night. Wade went 14 of 18 passing for 332 yards, 3 touchdowns, also had 78 yards rushing and a touchdown in that victory. So that's 410 yards of total offense, and Wade accounted for 4 touchdowns. Tyreek Wade of Valdosta, my quarterback of the week. My running back of the week comes from our GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia showdown last Friday night. Nigel Newkirk of Gainesville, 16 carries for 166 yards, 3 touchdowns in the Red Elephants' 28-16 win over Milton. That was a huge game on Friday night, and more on that coming up in just a few moments. But Nigel Newkirk of Gainesville is my running back of the week. My wide receiver of the week, as we have talked about here on the podcast, as so often happens when you have the quarterback of the week, stands the reason that the wide receiver of the week is also going to come from that same game, and that's the case here this week. Marquise Fennell of Valdosta had 7 catches for 210 yards, receiving 3 touchdowns in that aforementioned win over Richmond Hill. Flipping over to the defensive side of the ball, my defensive lineman of the week, Cam Jackson of Statesboro. What a season the Blue Devils are having, and more on that coming up on the podcast. But Cam Jackson had 8 total tackles, 7 solo tackles, 3 quarterback sacks in the Blue Devils' upset 28-21 win over previously 6th-ranked Brunswick. My linebacker of the week, Jaden Taylor of Carver Columbus. 13 total tackles, 7 solo, with 4 TFL in the Tigers' very slim 8-7 win over Sumter County. Sumter County nearly pulled off the upset of number 1 Carver Columbus. Jaden Taylor with a big defensive game, a big reason why Carver Columbus ends up eking this one out and maintaining that number 1 ranking in AA. Jaden Taylor, my linebacker of the week. My defensive back of the week, Fred Causey of Clinch County. What a performance by Fred this week. He had 10 tackles, 7 solo, and that was just the start of it. He had a TFL as well. But he blocked a field goal that was about to give Brooks County the lead late in the game. It was returned for a touchdown and a 6-0 lead for Clinch County. Brooks gets the ball back, and they are driving, and then Fred comes up with the interception to seal the victory as well, as Clinch County, number 2, holds off Brooks County which is a team that's got a losing record, but they were state finalists a year ago, and I wouldn't count them out just yet. But a big win for Clinch County, and Fred Causey is my defensive back of the week. As we take a look at the rankings, won't go through all of them because there's 80 teams ranked here, but I do invite you to check us out at Matt Stewart Sports on Facebook or Matt Stewart TV on X, and you can find the complete rankings with records and the whole thing. So we'll just kind of do a breeze through here and a synopsis of what the rankings look like this week. In 6A, no change in the top 10. Grayson remains my number one. I've had them ranked number one since the preseason. In 5A, Thomas County Central remains number one. They've been number one since the preseason. Langston Hughes is number two. The biggest move in the rankings in 5A was Gainesville bumps up to number three after beating previous number three Milton. Eagles drop down to number five. And then Houston County slots in at number four this week, and more on the Bears coming up a little bit later on in the podcast. Houston County got a big month coming up here in October. Brunswick did drop out of the rankings after that aforementioned loss to Statesboro. In 4A, no change with North Oconee remaining number one despite a 14-13 win over Eastside following the loss of star Kamari Brooks. What a huge loss for the Titans. They were certainly the favorites to win in 4A this year. Losing Kamari Brooks going to make that a big challenge, a bigger challenge than it already was going to be, because he was a player that never came off the field. Offense, defense, special teams. And I did not drop them from the number one ranking. I know somebody else did. But I'm not going to do that to North Oconee. They did beat a good Eastside team that now has 2 region losses by a total of 5 points. And their other 2 losses this year were to 6A teams. So they eked out a win against a very good Eastside team. North Oconee, in my book, going to stay number one until somebody beats them. In 3A, no change. Sandy Creek remains number one. That has been the case since the preseason. You'll notice from 2 to 6, I've had no changes in my number one ranking from the preseason. Everybody has stayed the course, and now we're closing in on the final 3 weeks of the regular season. So 2A through 6A, no changes in my number ones. Sandy Creek remains number one. They've been there all season long. 2A, Carver Columbus remains number one after that near upset by Sumter County. The Panthers are really good. I think they've been totally undervalued and underrated by some of the other rankings. I've had them up there as high as number 4, which was what they were when they lost to Carver Columbus. I only drop them 1 spot to number 5 because, wow, that was a heartbreaking loss for those guys. In 1A D1, I got Heard County number 1. I know others have Worth County number 1. I've stuck with the Heard County Braves at number 1. I believe them. We'll see what happens, of course, when the playoffs start. And the rankings, of course, are all just good for conversation anyway. Fitzgerald jumps back in there at number 9 with a win over Thomasville. Rabun County stays in there at number 10 despite a stunning loss to Oglethorpe County. That was the first loss for Rance Gillespie's team. That was just shocking that they lost to a Oglethorpe County team that's now 3-4 on the season. But I keep them in there in my 1A D1 rankings. And 1A D2, Lincoln County remains number 1. Clinch County hangs in there at number 2 after that aforementioned tough 6-0 win over Brooks County. And I believe the Trojans are good. Now, the Trojans are 3-5. So I know some people have them ranked or have had them ranked despite the losing record. I believe what Bill Parcells said. And, he famously said, your record is what it says you are. And they're 3-5. I mean, that means they've lost 5 of their 8 games. And they played a tough schedule, but you still lost 5 of your 8 games. But I wouldn't count out the Trojans. I don't have them in my top 10. But I would not count them out to make a deep run in the state playoffs, maybe even get back to the finals. We've seen this happen before with some teams. They go into the playoffs with a 500 record, and that's the best that Brooks County is going to be at this point. At 3-5, the best they could be is 5-5 going into the playoffs. So wait and see what happens, but that's just my caveat on Brooks County. In the private classification, Hebron Christian remains number 1, but we do have shakeups in positions 6 and below, and you can check it out again on X at Matt Stewart TV, on Facebook at Matt Stewart Sports. That's my Facebook page. So if you want to check out all the rankings, that's where they are. All right, let's take a look at the biggest wins of the week. These are my 5 biggest wins of the week. Going to start with 2A and number 1 Carver Columbus beating number 4 Sumter County 8-7. How about this? Freshman Sebastian Hurd, 26-yard touchdown pass to fellow freshman Marte Sears with 4.5 minutes left for the Tigers' only touchdown of the game. It was 6-2. And he throws that touchdown pass, and it was a freshman combination of quarterback and wide receiver that came up with the game-winning play for Carver Columbus. 1A D1, Fitzgerald's 24-21 win over number 8 Thomasville. That knocked Thomasville out of my rankings. Purple Hurricane left. They fell behind 14-0 in this game. But then they took over with a ball control offense. They basically held the ball the entire second half. Third quarter, they go on a 73-yard drive that nearly ate up the entire quarter. Held the ball for 11 minutes and 13 seconds. There's only 12 minutes in the quarter. And then they had another mammoth drive, 14 plays, 95 yards in the fourth quarter. Next on my list, I got 5A Statesboro upsetting number 6 Brunswick 28-21. This is a signature win for Coach Matt Dobson's program. And I remember calling games when Matt Dobson was a hard-hitting safety for the Georgia Southern Eagles. Man, this guy played with reckless abandon. And I'm guessing that his team probably has his personality, but congratulations to him. I mean, he was a senior at Georgia Southern in 2014. So, I mean, this young man is just barely 10 years out of college and the head coach of this Statesboro team, the team where he went to college in Statesboro, and now he's coaching the high school team there in Statesboro. And they've got a chance for their first region title since 2011. Got a big showdown coming up with Effingham County, but they already with 5 wins. I mean, this is more wins than I think they've had in a decade. And the season's not over yet. The regular season's not over yet. So congratulations to Statesboro. Number 2 on my list are GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia Game of the Week, and that number 4 Gainesville beat number 3 Milton 28-16. I already told you in the rankings how they kind of flip now. That Gainesville's up to number 3. And if you watch the game, and we talked about it in the game is not for the region championship, although likely Gainesville still has to beat Roswell. Win their last 2, they're going to be the region champions. Milton's not shut out of it yet as far as the region championship. But you got the feeling, just talking to the coaches, in particular Josh Niblett for Gainesville, that this game was more than just region, that they really felt like they needed to beat Milton, the team that he called the class of the class, the 2-time defending state champions. And it was an impressive win for Gainesville. Milton was not out of it, though. They were down. They came back and made a game of it there in the fourth quarter. But that ended their historic 42-game winning streak in the region. They had not lost in the region since 2017. And they may yet win the region. They've won 7 in a row, but they got an uphill battle here. Going to have to get some help. But that's number 2 on my list. It was a fun game to call, by the way. Number 1 on my list, Marietta. Marietta. Where did Marietta come from? If you checked out on Marietta early in the season when they went 0-4 in their non-region schedule, playing a brutally tough non-region schedule, you've missed out. They've now won 4 in a row, beat North Cobb 36-35 in dramatic fashion. So Marietta has my biggest win of the week, and they are my team of the week. Time now to bring in Marietta Blue Devils head coach Cameron Duke. And, Coach, thanks a lot for being with us. Congratulations on your big win over North Cobb on Friday night, and now a 4-game winning streak as you head into your bye week.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me on. And, man, it was a crazy one Friday. We're very fortunate to find a way to come out with a win and against a great North Cobb team. And we have an open week this week, and it came at the right time.
I guess one of the big stories of your season has been the resiliency of your team. The Friday night win over North Cobb was kind of a microcosm of your season, if you will. You're down 35-17 in the fourth quarter, and you come back and win that game against the Warriors 36-35. What'd you see from your guys?
Well, the fight and the perseverance is something that we've seen all year. Starting off 0-4, there's a lot of teams that would have that could have been a kind of point where you could shut it down, and our guys didn't. I was so proud of their mindset to, kind of reset once we got into region play. We talked about that. What does it look like to have a renewed spirit going into region play? I've been so proud of the resolve of our guys, and then to find a way to get the 4 wins in a row in the region special. It's a testament to my seniors, their leadership, and sorry, there's a bell.
That's
And
all right. You're at school. You're working.
right, but there's the character of our team was on display Friday. Their heart, their effort is continuing to fight to the end. Very proud of that. And I really, who they're becoming as men, it's been awesome to watch, not just as football players, but, in every area of their life. So it's been a fun year, and we're hoping to find a way to get 2 more wins at the end of the year.
To your point, you were 0-4. You start your region schedule at Wheeler. You're on the road. You're down 21-7 almost right off the bat, second quarter. And then you guys storm back and win that game 52-21. And that got the ball rolling on your current 4-game winning streak. What happened that night to turn your season around? It appears to turn your season around. Maybe it wasn't that night, but on the surface, it looks like, wow, that was a big watershed moment for your team.
Yeah, it was one of those deals where we had to find some confidence. There was a couple plays in that game. We made some contested catches and made a couple fourth down conversions and had a couple big stops there in the third quarter that gave us confidence in what we were doing. And so when a player can get confidence and starts really believing in the process that we put in front of them and also one another, that was a big turning point. Like you said, we were down 14-0. Then we were down 21-7, and then we came back and won that game. We talked about it as a staff that, seeing the guys believe in each other, believe in themselves, that was big. Like, hey, we're believing in who you are, and if you make a mistake, that's fine. Let's forget about it. Let's move on. We really have talked a lot about one of my favorite Bible verses is 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God didn't give us a spirit of fear, but of one of power, love, and self-discipline." Right. And I think there was some times early in the year, and even myself, I was coaching out of fear, and I think some of our guys were playing out of fear and the fear of failure and the fear to, not to mess up. And we wanted to get that out of our program. We wanted to kind of remove that because that's not who we want to be or who we're called to be. And I thought our guys have really listened to that and applied it. Man, we want to play football without any fear of failure. Just playing one game at a time, and hopefully you're playing because you love that guy next to you. And we've been able to do that, and I'm so proud of that.
Yeah, so easier said than done, all those things you just said, because when you're 0-4, you're following a 2-8 season, which doesn't belong to you, but a lot of the guys on your team were part of that. So that means at that point, you've lost 12 of your previous 14 games for a lot of those kids. It would be hard, I believe, to not play with fear or timidity or whatever the case may be and not have confidence. Then you have that 41-38 overtime shootout win at Walton, just another huge road win for you in a game where most people would look at that game from the outside and say, wow, the Blue Devils are big underdogs in this game against a state power that 2 years ago played in the state finals. Not the same team, but still same program. So what have you been able to do to get rid of that spirit of timidity, that spirit of fear, as you're talking about, and put yourself now at a position where you're 4-4, and now probably, I would dare say, the favorites to win Region 5-7A?
It was one of those deals. It was even, myself and our staff. I'm so proud of the guys I get a chance to coach with and work with. And, we said, okay, after this 0-4 start, before we get into region play, let's really look, internally and say, what can we do as a program and to go and try to pour into our young men to believe in themselves and what we're doing. And, we all kind of came together as a staff, and we said, our staff got closer after being 0-4. And so the guys saw that, they saw that we love you and we're in this together with you. We're going to work through this deal together. I tell the guys all the time, I'm never going to take a snap. So, whenever we're failing and struggling, that's on me. And when we're having success, that's always going to be on the guys because they're the ones playing the game. And so, it was really imperative that we as a staff and myself went and showed them how to lead well when you're 0-4. We also want to make sure we show them how to lead well when we won 4 in a row. And at the end of the day, our identity is not in this game. We believe that God has called us for so much more, and that your identity cannot be based on how you play or my identity cannot be based on just how I coach on Friday nights. It's got to be a lot bigger than that. And our guys know that, they believe that, and we're going to love them and coach them and encourage them and get after them, no matter if we're 0-4 or 4-0. We're doing this thing together, and they believe that. They do love one another. You can see that. You can see how hard they're playing. But I also saw that when we were 0-4, and that our guys were still doing everything we asked of them and more. And I told them we were going to journey in this together, and my staff feels the same way. And that's been great to see. And we want to lead. We want to lead well no matter what. And we also want them to know that your identity is not in that scoreboard. Yes, it matters. We want to do
Sure, it
everything we can.
does. Yeah.
We want to do everything in our power to be on the right side of it, but that's not who you are. It's something you do. Now, if you're going to go do it, let's max it out. So I've been proud. They believe in that. They know that. And here we are coming off a big win. And I told them the same thing I told them when we came off a big loss. You're so much more than just a football player.
Right.
And your identity is not going to be based on that scoreboard, and how we coach and feel about you will never be based according to, what we did on Friday night.
Well, you guys are off this week, as we've already talked about, and then you've got 1-7 Cherokee on October 24th. I can already see that the messaging is probably already in place, because that's a huge opportunity for a trap game right there for a team that's starting to feel better about itself and facing a team that has not had a good season. But if you can win that night, you might wrap up the region championship that night before you ever play North Paulding, depending upon what they do that night. So what would a region championship mean for this program, given the way this season started, much less that it's been 20 years since the Blue Devils won a region championship and did not even win one in the 2019 season when they won the state championship?
Well, I'll tell you this. We're not talking about region championships. We are going to talk about the next region game, which is a good Cherokee team. You don't want to look at their record. They are a talented team. You can tell they're well coached. We're going to have our work cut out for us to go there and find a way to get a win. I'm grateful for this bye week. We need to get healthy. So this is a really good time for us in bye week. But Cherokee's a really good opponent. We know it's the next opponent, next region game. We do know, of course, our guys do know that we are in the hunt to go do everything in our power to try to win a region championship. But we're not going to be talking about that and focused on that. We're going to talk about making sure we keep the messaging the same that we've had all year. And we know we got our work cut out for us against Cherokee, and then we end with a really good North Paulding team coming to our place. But I will tell you this is a special community. I love it. My wife and I were so fortunate to be here. I'm so fortunate to be the head football coach here. And so if I know how much Marietta football means to so many, so if there was an opportunity for us to go win a region championship, man, we want to do it because of the rich history and the great pride and all the great coaches and players and alumni that have come way before me. When you're coaching, it's for the others that we get a chance to serve. So I get a chance to serve this community. And if we could find a way to go and win a region championship, it'd be something that would be awesome for our great city and school. But we're not talking about that. We're just going to focus on the now. Sure. But I do know when's the last time we had one? I got a couple coaches that played
2005. Yep.
Yep. I got a few coaches that were there. They won it in 2004, 2005. They went back-to-back region champs then. And under Coach Friday, who was just, such a beloved coach and great man, and someone that I've learned, I've got to learn so much about, and who he was and what he believed in is something that goes hand in hand with what I believe in as well. So we want to focus on the now, but if we could find a way to do it for our community and for our players, of course, and our seniors, man, like there's nothing sweeter. You get a chance to be a senior one time. So anything that we can do to go find a way to get that done would be special, but we're going to focus on the now.
You're another in a growing list of Florida coaches who've come to the state of Georgia for greener pastures, and I mean that in every way, not just personally greener pastures, but also just the resources and the support that comes with Georgia high school football that doesn't necessarily always come in the state of Florida. Decades worth of success for you at Edgewater High School when you took over a winless program and had 8 straight playoff appearances or 8 playoff appearances and back-to-back state finals appearances. Coaches always talk to me about, when they talk to their players, about finding the why. So what was your why in deciding to make this move to Marietta?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I loved being the head football coach at Edgewater. It was a great community. It's a great school, and it was something that, I will always cherish. It'll be a year ago in November when I got an email from our athletic director. We had come up here and played their 2019 season. That was a special year for Marietta and a state championship year. And Coach Morgan and his group, I mean, unbelievable job, and to win a state championship. But we came up that year, and it was actually 6 years ago. It was October, I think, 6th that we came up and played. And we lost, and we played well, but we lost. And I remember leaving going, man, that is a special community. The school, of course, Northcutt speaks for itself, our stadium. But I mean, it was just a great experience. We played for a state championship game that year, but I didn't think anything really of Marietta since then. I just knew how special it was and what a great place to coach and all of that. But a year ago in November, our athletic director had reached out because he had kind of followed our program since that game and said we had an opening and he would love to start a conversation with us once our season was finished after our playoff run. And so I talked to my wife that night and said, hey, we'll have a conversation. And that was again in November of last year. And it was very simple, man. Our prayer was, God bless this or block it. Let it be what you want for myself and my family. I have 2 little girls. If this is where you want us, then make it so clear. And things just kind of started falling into place. And the more I got to know the people, our superintendent, our principal, our athletic director, I go, this is a special place, because what makes a place special are its people, and Marietta has great people leading in all areas. So that's kind of how it started. And then I think Georgia does such a great job for high school athletics, not just football but athletics, and I've learned that. Of course, they care about football, and there's a commitment in so many ways that's really special. And I pray that Florida improves. And I don't just mean that from coaching, from the standpoint of educators. Both my parents were teachers. And, Florida's currently the 50th state for paying educators after 10 years. And I pray that it gets better for all the teachers and educators and, of course, coaches, because there's some great coaches and teachers in the state of Florida. Georgia is filled with great coaches. Trust me, I've got a chance to compete against some that are
Right.
They're awesome. And we feel great about being here. Again, it was a prayer, as an answered prayer. If this is where you want us, God, then lead us here. And I feel that He has myself, my wife, and of course the great staff that I get a chance to work with.
It was a true family move for you because your brother is with you still.
Mhm.
He
Yep.
came with you as the OC. Your dad, I know, is very involved with your staff on, I don't know if it's a day-to-day basis, but certainly on Friday nights. Who are the biggest coaching influences in your career on a day-to-day basis? Like, well, today we're recording this on Monday. So on Monday, you're going about your daily work. You're about as far from Friday night as you can be right now. And even if you were playing on Friday night, but you're doing your coaching job. So who's influencing that?
Yeah, my father was a longtime coach and athletic director. He's retired, so he's able to come up. He usually comes up Wednesday. I call him. His label is our chief of staff. Uh,
Gotcha.
just that's because he's old. Um, but I know with age comes wisdom, so he does a lot of stuff for us as a staff that's really cool from a standpoint of development, spiritual development, and just as a staff that he helps lead, which is really cool. And yeah, my brother's my offensive coordinator. We've been coaching together the last 11 years. I was fortunate to bring some coaches with me that I think are exceptional, and I was also very fortunate to inherit some unbelievable coaches and also some alumni that are coaches that bleed blue. So I think our staff is incredible. The ones that have influenced me besides my father, my high school coach was the most influential man in my life besides my father, and the lessons that I learned with him. I actually had a chance to coach with him in 2015. He was my O-line coach at Lake Highland Prep. That was really awesome and special. And then I look at guys. I had a chance to be a student assistant under Coach Bowden a long time ago, and how he led. I believe the way that I want to lead, where football and trying to be the best you can is extremely important. But we have a saying, it's so much bigger than football. And we get a chance to pour into our guys. And hopefully we're going to know we're successful 20 years down the road when our guys come back and the lessons that they've learned, and hopefully the men that they are. We've had a small influence on them in a positive way beyond just how they play football. So, I look at different coaches, and I have coaches all around. I've gotten to know coaches here in this state, that I want to continue to build great relationships with so that I can learn from them. I told that to Coach Queen as we got prepared for Friday, I said, I can't wait to sit down with you, in the off season. You've been doing this a long time in our state. And so, I'm looking for guys that I can lean into and learn from here in our state. And of course, back in the state of Florida, there's a lot of coaches that I have great relationships with that I call on all the time, guys that I've worked with or coached against that I'm looking to learn from, and also guys that I feel lead the way that God wants us to lead.
Yeah, Coach Queen obviously is the second winningest coach in Cobb County history. We saw him again this season on GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia, and they had a big win at North Paulding, the North Paulding team that you're going to face on 3 weeks from now, Halloween night, maybe with the region championship on the line. Let's talk a little bit about your personnel before you go. Some of your players. We'll start with your quarterback, Jaden Whiteside. Won the battle for the job in preseason. He's averaging about 140 a game passing, 11 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. What have you seen from Jaden?
An unbelievable job of getting better each and every week. I just got this. I mean, he was 21 for 24 on Friday for 333 and 3 touchdowns and no turnovers. I mean, he is playing better each and every week. He's comfortable. He's confident. Um, we started shaky offensively, and that's my fault. And I told Jaden, I was like, Jaden, we're gonna work through this together. We believe in you. And again, he was one of those guys that I think has really shaken any kind of mindset of going out there and having a fear of failure. Go out there, let it rip, play fast, have fun doing it. Making sure that there's no confusion on his end. That's my job, to make sure he's not confused at all out there. And he's playing at a high level. We knew if we were going to have a chance on Friday against North Cobb that he was going to have to play really well, and he did. And he's been doing that each and every week. I think I'm telling you, he's getting better and better. And in it, when a game gets tight and when things get a little hectic, he's able to regain composure. He did that well at Walton. He threw 2 touchdown passes in overtime on the road, and there was some things I knew he wished that he had back, but he was able to regain his composure, stay calm, and go and execute at a high level there late. And then I thought he played exceptional Friday. And anytime things do get shaky, we didn't have a very good third quarter. He's been able to regain his composure. He knows we believe in him, and he's playing at a high level. And so his growth has kind of been a microcosm of our team this year, that we have gotten better. We've learned each other. The relationships have only gone deeper. So I'm proud of Jaden. I'm proud of where he is.
By and large, it looks like it's been running back by committee this season, and your number one target in the pass catching game for Jaden has been Samaj Anderson, 24 catches for 354 and 5 touchdowns. So talk about Samaj and anybody else you'd like to throw in there.
Yeah, we got 3 receivers that I think are playing at a high level. Brody Archie, Samaj Anderson, and Elijah Green have done really well. Our H-back tight end, Isaac Copeland, has become a real weapon for us. He plays about every snap, and we move him all over from H-back to tight end to slot receiver. And then we have 3 backs that we've kind of used. Titus Grant, who's a big physical 220-pound back. Landon Mannery, who's a senior who came off an ACL injury at the end of last year and getting better and better, and he's playing well. And then Jordan Adams, who didn't play football last year, he was on the track team, and I think he played his sophomore year, didn't play his junior year, and I knew he was big and could run, so we got him to come back out, and he's done some really good stuff for us at the running back position as well. So I've been really pleased with our offensive skill group. They've gotten a lot better each and every week. They've gained confidence in who they are and also what we're trying to do. So, we want to be balanced offensively, and basically whatever the defense is allowing us to do, we want to be able to take advantage of that, and that's in the run or pass game. But, all of them have different skill sets. I mean, all the receivers and all the backs, they have different skill sets, but together it makes for a really, I think, special group.
Defensive side of the ball, your sophomore defensive end, Merrick Ham. I can't wait to get my eyes on this young man. He's already he's going to blossom into a big time prospect. As a 10th grader, already has offers from the likes of Kennesaw State, Vandy, Wake, Indiana. Of course, one of the top teams in the country, and coming off a big win over Oregon. Tell us about him as a 10th grader, because he has really been a big factor on your defensive side of the ball.
Man, he's a special young man. He's 6'5", 220, 225-pound, edge. But we'll play him all over on the defensive line. He's unselfish, 3-sport athlete, plays baseball, basketball, and football. Throwback,
Wow.
Yeah. But it comes from a great family. He's got 3 brothers, so and he's the oldest. So I'm excited.
Great.
That Ham's coming through. But a great young man. He's played some tight. He'll play anything we'll ask him to play. He plays the game how you want it to be played. Plays with a lot of joy. plays with a lot of passion. He's got a relentless motor, and there was a play the other night that he made that we're going to celebrate this afternoon. We talked to the team. It's 35-17 against North Cobb, and their quarterback, Gerard, who's a heck of a ball player, on the 12-yard line going in to score with about 2 minutes left in the third. And Merritt flushes him out of the pocket, and just has a relentless pursuit of the quarterback. And, he continues to get depth and try to buy time. And we're fortunate that he threw the ball away, but it was intentional grounding. And so that put him in a position, put him way back, and put him in a long field goal position, which they kicked and missed. That's because of Merrick Ham and his relentless effort. Again, 35-17, where a lot of times teams might shut it down or, not play as hard. And that's not him. That's never him. That's not him at practice. And again, he has a great family. He's a great student, and he's a throwback. He's really good in basketball. He's really good in baseball, and he's pretty darn good in football as well. So we're excited. He's only a sophomore too.
Love it. Also want to ask you about your senior safety, Jameen Solomon, who just committed to Air Force the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Great kid. He just turned 17. He's really young for his grade. He's committed to the Air Force Academy, which is awesome. He's a 6'2", 195-pound safety, but we can play him at corner. Got elite speed, was 10.9 in the 100, ran the 221, I think 21.6. Wow. And he's a great football player, great young man. And when you go to the academy, you better be an awesome student, which he is. So, these are guys that I point to, that guys, hey, this is who we want a Blue Devil to be in all phases. And I wish he was not a senior, but he's having a great year, and he's leading us on the back end for sure.
My final question for you is, as Cobb County coaches, you guys just had a meeting today about the new playoff format that was voted on last week by the GHSA, which, as we all know, will go to a power ranking format, and it takes care of the region championships, but they'll seed the field 1 through 32. Your thoughts on that?
It's very similar to what we had in Florida. And so I now, 35% for winning percentage, 30% for opponents' winning percentage, 30% for opponents' winning percentage. I do think it allows probably the best 32 teams to make the playoffs. And it's a system that I am familiar with. But it's something that I can't control, so I'm not really too worried about it. It's going to change scheduling, as we get the region and figure out who's in a region. And then, when you're out of region opponents, understanding that, playing a tough schedule is good. It's helpful. But you also, it's going to make scheduling more interesting. I inherited this year's schedule, so
which was very difficult in your non-region. I think your opponents were like 23-2 or 24-2. The non-region opponents that
I think they all
faced.
Yeah, they all won Friday, and going in, I know they were like 22-2 of last week.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah,
yeah. It's battle tested us for sure, and so there is something to that about playing really tough opponents and what that can do. So it'll be interesting to see how we schedule. We got to first find out who our region is, and we'll go from there. But it is a format that I am familiar with, that we used in Florida the last few years.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I've been a longtime proponent, having covered Georgia high school football as long as I have, going to some kind of a seeding format and getting away from the predetermined brackets, which I thought were kind of outdated. So I'm excited about it. And I think the bottom line, I dug in on it and looked at, what the playoffs would look like, last year. I think the bottom line is this for those teams that are worried that they might not get in. It's like anything. Win and you get in.
Yeah, right.
Win and you get in.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, you will make the playoffs. So if you win, you will make the playoffs. I think there was only one team that was over 500 last year in 6A who did not get in, and they didn't get in under the old format either. So there you go.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
win
Coach,
control what you could control, and it's still, if you win your region, you're automatically in. You get a first round playoff game, and all of that. So I think the system's good. It'll make scheduling interesting once we get to that, part of December, January timeframe, to where it's time to really get next year's schedule solidified.
Winning always takes care of everything, and your team is perfect proof of that, because you started 0-4, and now you've won 4 in a row, and now here you are. In the next couple of weeks, you're going to have a chance to win the region championship. So, Coach, thanks a lot for being with us, And congratulations on your success, and wishing you continued success here as you close out the regular season and get ready for the playoffs.
Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you for your coverage and all you do for high school athletics in our great state of Georgia. And I'm very appreciative of you having me on.
Great to visit with Coach Duke. I had never met Coach Duke and had never talked to Coach Duke until today when we did the podcast. So really excited about what he's doing there at Marietta High School. I mean, it's one of the tradition programs in the state, although they have just that one state championship as Marietta High School. But I think everybody would agree. You know how they like to say baseball's better if the Yankees are winning, or, football's better if Georgia's winning, or, whoever your team is. You've heard people say that before, and I don't know whether I give any credence to sayings like that. But I think high school football in Georgia is better when Marietta's winning, when Marietta's competitive. And so Cameron Duke certainly has the Blue Devils en route to that, and they got a big couple of weeks coming up in front of them after they get past this bye week. And so we'll wait and see if they can stay the course and win that region championship for the first time since 2005. Been a long time. All right. Like, follow, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, if you're listening on Apple, if you're listening on iHeart, please share this with your high school football friends so we can keep this going. I need the encouragement. So follow, subscribe, and share with your friends. And also, you can follow me on social media as well. Twitter, X, you can find me at Matt Stewart TV. On Facebook at Matt Stewart Sports. That's my page. And then on, of course, Instagram at Matt Stewart TV Sports. All right, let's get back to this thing. Got some more things to cover here. I want to hit the recruiting news for the week. And these are the top decisions of the week. And we'll start with the top commitment of the week. And that comes from Elijah Patman of Northside Warner Robins. Now, Northside Warner Robins has had a tough year. I mean, they haven't won yet. But big recruiting news for them as 6'2", 295 junior Elijah Patman, consensus 4-star, ranked as high as the number 10 defensive lineman in 2027, committed to Texas A&M over 25 other offers, including Georgia Tech and Georgia. Both the Jackets and the Bulldogs had offered him. Tyreek Jemison, Paulding County, 6'5", 330 senior, consensus 3-star offensive tackle in 2026. He decommitted from Kentucky, to whom he had been committed since June. He still has 46 other offers on the table, including Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, and South Florida. So plenty of people to choose from for Tyreek. Jax Pope of Buford. We've seen Jax not just a couple of times this year, but many times in his career. A 6'1", 185 senior, consensus 3-star safety in 2026. He decommits from Mississippi State, to whom he had been committed since June. And Jack still has 26-plus offers, including Georgia State, UAB, and Stanford. Zion Hudson of Peach County, 5'11", 185 senior wide receiver, flipped from Army to James Madison, over 13 other offers. Zion was up in Harrisonburg this past weekend to take an official visit, watch the Dukes beat Louisiana. Of course, I saw the Dukes called play-by-play on their win at Georgia State just a couple of weekends ago. And, they're the favorites to win the Sun Belt Conference Championship this year in my book. So congratulations to Zion as he commits to the Dukes. Hayden Roy of Toombs County, 6'1", 200 senior linebacker, committed to Mercer over 8 other offers, including Western Kentucky, Arkansas State, and Georgia State. Hayden's had a big career, over 200 career tackles, 45 TFL, 9 quarterback sacks, and of course he was a big reason why Toombs was able to win that 2024 state championship a year ago, and a big reason why they're in the mix here in 2025 to maybe repeat as the state champions. So congratulations to Hayden Roy. And also Timothy Daly of Paulding County, another Paulding County kid, 6'2", 260 senior defensive lineman. He committed to Georgia State over offers from Sanford and Tuskegee. So congratulations to him. And, of course, I called Georgia State football games on ESPN Plus and just called their loss to App State over the weekend. They got a lot of injuries on the defensive line. And I know Timothy can't help them out right now, but let me tell you, the Panthers can use some help on the defensive line no matter when you get there. So congratulations to Timothy Daly on his commitment to the Georgia State Panthers. All right, let's take a look at the biggest games of the week coming up this Friday night before we close out the podcast. And again, like, follow, and subscribe. Share with your high school football friends. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, listening on Apple, listening to iHeart, I find it great to listen to when I'm walking my dog Birdie. Just pop it in there on my phone and, find it on my phone. It's easy to find. Just type in Matt Stewart Sports High School Football Podcast, and there you'll find it. You'll find it on Apple. You'll find it on iHeart. So let's preview the biggest games. Enough of that now. Let's start with number 4 Prince Avenue at number 9 Franklin County. Now, I bring this game up because the Lions of Franklin County are having a historically great season. I mean, it's been a decade plus since they've been this good, maybe longer than a decade. They're 6-1 right now, and they're number 12 in the PSR. So they got a good chance to make the playoffs and potentially be a high seed. And they still got a shot at the region championship here as well. So that should be a big game and kind of a reality check. I mean, they play in that same region with Prince and Hebron, and we could sit here and debate all day the merits of having, public schools and private schools playing in the same region when they don't play in the same playoff bracket. Not going to get into all that. This is how I feel about that. Georgia High School Association is doing their best with a difficult situation there because public doesn't want to play with private. Private would love to play with public, but public doesn't want them, and they got their own state championship bracket, but you got to have them in some kind of region. You can't there's not enough of the teams to have their own region and own classification. That's just the bottom line. So it is what it is. But Lions are having a great season. That's kind of the gist of this whole thing is the Lions are having a great season, and this is a big game for them coming up against Princeton Avenue. They'll get them at home. Number 6, Rockmart at number 10, Lakeview Fort Oglethorpe. This is Region 7 2A, and this is a big game in the region, especially for Lakeview since they've already got a loss. But Rockmart's still undefeated, so big for them, too, to stay the course and try to win the region championship. And Lakeview is number 9 in the PCR, so this is a big game for them, too, to try to get a first-round, number 1, get in the playoffs. Number 2, perhaps get a first-round playoff game. And that's, so. We'll wait and see what happens there if you're top 16, even though that the new rules haven't taken into effect. The bottom line is if you're top 16 in the PSR, you're going to get a first-round playoff game. Number 3 on my list, Coffee at number 4, Houston County. Now, Coffee is 3-4 overall. It's not been a great season for them. It's been an below average season for them. Of course, they won the state championship in 2023 under Coach Mike Coe. And this is a big game for them to kind of climb back in the race there in Region 2 5A. It's a huge game for Houston County, too. The Bears are 7-0. And as you know, I got them up to number 4 in my 5A rankings. But this starts their 3-game gauntlet, which includes Coffee this week, then Thomas County Central, and then Lee County to follow. So they have not had a home playoff game. You're gonna think I'm lying, but they have not had a home playoff game since 2015 because they can't finish and they haven't been able to finish in the top 2 of the region. And they got to the quarterfinals last year. They've been to the quarterfinals. They've made deep runs despite the fact they haven't had these home games. So they're a really good team. They just play in maybe the toughest region of all, Georgia high school football, which is Region 2 5A. And we can debate that all day long, but it's tough. Take my word for it. If it's not the toughest, it's among the toughest. So this is a big gauntlet for them, and it starts with Coffee County. They win this game. They still aren't guaranteed to be in a top 2 seed because they got Lee County and Thomas County Central coming up too. But it'd be big. And the great thing about the new playoff format for them is this. In the new playoff format, they're getting a home game. Even if they finish as the 3rd best team in the region, they'd still get a home game. So that's why I love this format, because look, the regions aren't created equal. So finishing third in this region is not the same as finishing third in some others. So that's why I like this playoff format that they're going to put into place next year. Number 2 on my list, number 5, LaGrange versus number 7, Troop. And this is going to be the GPB Sports stream game of the week, which means you can find it on gpb.org/sports, so you can bring it up on your laptop, or you can bring it up on your GPB Sports app. It'll be available there as well. And other platforms too. So just, follow GPB Sports on X, and you can get all the platforms. But this is going to be a huge game. This is Region 2 3A. This is, beyond the fact that it's a big game in Region 2 3A, this is just a huge rivalry game there at Callaway Stadium. So LaGrange, it's a must-win for them if they're going to win the region championship, because they already got a loss to Sandy Creek. And Troop still has Sandy Creek to come, so they need to win this game too to set up a winner-take-all versus Sandy Creek in the regular season finale. So should be a great game, and that's going to be our GPB Sports stream game this week. And my number 1 game of the week to watch this week, of course, is our GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia game from Hillgrove, as the 7-0 and 10th-ranked Hawks play host to the 7-0 and 4th-ranked McEachern Indians in a huge region rivalry, huge neighborhood rivalry for these two teams in West Cobb. And what makes it all the more fun for me is this is another place. This will be the 3rd time. And remember, this is season number 11 or 12 for me, calling GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia. And of course, I did it for 15 years before that. So I've been calling high school football, on TV now here in the state of Georgia for 25 years. And to find a place that I've never been before is hard to do. To find it 3 times in one season. And that's what's happened here on GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia this year. And this is another one of those. McEachern and Hillgrove on Friday night at 7:30 on GPB TV, which, of course, is the statewide network. You can see it all over the state on TV, and you can see it all over the world on the GPB Sports app or gpbsports.org. So there you go. I'm looking forward to that. Join me along with Wayne Gandy and John Nelson, 7:30 for Hillgrove and McEachern. That's going to be a lot of fun. All right, that's going to wrap it up this week for the Matt Stewart Sports High School Football Podcast. Thanks for watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on Apple or iHeart. And remember, like, follow, subscribe, and share it with your high school football friends, and we'll see you next time.